can't make this because little boys are up this morning, and even though things started late, I'm refusing to believe that it's going to be anything but a yucky day. It's going to be a great day. Okay, so I went out last night to the grocery store for the first time in, 2 days? 3 days? And everything is already crazy out there. It's like the city of Bakersfield wasn't here last March. It's like they forgot. We don't hoard. Yeah, so I had a bad experience at the grocery store last night. My first mistake was I went to Food Max. Nothing against Food Max, just not my favorite store. I went there because, okay, this is a confession. Lately, my eyesight, like my long distance vision, has seemed a little bit better. And so I spent most of the summer driving without my glasses. I've been wearing my sunglasses and wearing my contacts even. Well, I might be able to see really well, pretty good distances during the day, but not at night. And so Food Max was the closer choice when I realized the glare and all that at night was just bad. Plus, out where we are, it just seems like it's darker. There's not as many city lights, and I don't know, maybe it's just 53-year-old eyes. I really don't know. But so that was, it was a store, and I don't know how you guys are, but unless I have a lot of time, I don't want to go discover a grocery store. And so, but the crazy thing was lines, nobody social distancing, everybody was wearing masks. But what was the important thing? In everyone's cart, toilet paper, paper towels, turkey, ham, pumpkin pie. That's what everybody was out for last night. And I think I even put on my personal Facebook, you guys, please don't do this. Don't start being dumb and start hoarding again. And for what? I mean, smart thing was you just pick up a little bit extra here and there. And like for me, whatever I have, anybody can have or borrow. If you need something, I typically just stock up. It's not, I don't know. My kid's dad, I think, used to have a little bit of a prepper in him. We were always prepared. But, I mean, that may have been the military. We lived through, when we lived in Hawaii, we lived through Hurricane Iniki, where we were without power for a few days and without, in those days, landlines. Because I think it was 1990 or 91 that we had, we already had Ripley, so she's already walking around, so it must have been end of 92 or early 93, I can't even remember. Gosh, it's been so long. But yeah, living on a military base during a major emergency. It was a naval base, and so we had the Seabees construction people came and taped up our windows, and we ate comrats, which I don't know. You know me. I'm always up for an adventure, so it didn't kill us. It was actually really neat, and since it was before screen time, it wasn't, us and 2 other families just got all our kids together, and we used our supplies, and we hung out together and listened to radios and shared batteries and played card games. And the kids thought it was just great because all the kids got to be together. They got to sleep, together. And so I just made the best of it. And I'm so incredibly thankful personally that we've maintained our health, that my mom and my mother-in-law have been healthy this whole time. I think my mother-in-law's had a cold uh, once in just this last 8 months, and so on every day it's been my prayer. We thank you, Lord, that you protect our home and that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. And I do pray that for all of you. And I refuse to let it affect my emotion. I'm not going to get all freaked out, upset, and sucked into the news like I did last March. Um, I haven't stopped being careful, but I am. I'm probably just as guilty as anyone else of realizing I don't have a mask, or um, I just realized the other day we have a little neighbor, Blake, that comes around as like he's just earning money and he's bored, not in school, and during his time off, and I don't have any high schoolers, so I don't have any firsthand experience, but I'm the kid whisperer. So the second I met him, I'm like, where do you go to school? What's your favorite subject? What are you doing? Oh my gosh, you're 17. What's fun? And he's just so sweet. And he's just like, I borrowed money from my grandpa. I need to earn it. Is there anything I can do for you? And just sweet. But he told me, he said, this everything just went downhill for him academically once he went to virtual school because there's nobody at home with him during the day. He's 17. What 17-year-old boys want to stay home? And he told me he had to repeat his junior year. He's like, I'm 17 and I should be a senior, and I'm not. I'm a junior again. And so I don't think he believed in me at first that I would help him, but I'm here to help him. So he's just a sweetie. That's just one. That's just one kid in my neighborhood. I feel for you parents that took on having to homeschool, and I know for some of you guys that are working like crazy, and maybe your kids are in classes that they're teaching stuff either that you've never had to deal with, or they're teaching it in a way you never dreamed that would be something that you need to do. But try and hold those teachers accountable. He deserves that help, because if there's just one Blake in my neighborhood, I can only imagine what else is out there. And I go back to teaching government in 2009, 2010 years, and I was talking about Social Security, because many of them had jobs, and you never want to paint for a young picture that the world looks bleak, but it's almost like those old traditional jobs are all changing. Everything is here, and if you're not willing to learn, or you're not willing to embrace it, you're going to get left behind, or people are going to start, or people are already speaking a different language. I know. So I'm here to encourage you not to panic and not to freak out, especially if your area is closing down again, or if you never even, uh, got to enjoy any kind of opening up. A lot of people were enjoying going back to church for realsies, and like for us, I think we had 2 weeks inside churches, and I just heard last night that they have put church attendance back over to the non-essential. And I think, in all fairness to the leaders, they're worried about another Easter happening. Only Thanksgiving happens on a bigger level because it's not necessarily a religious holiday. It's a time when we're all just thankful. And so I caution everyone to remember what it's about being thankful, about what are our blessings, counting our blessings, being grateful for what we have. And I am by no way discounting the tragedy that this virus has caused so many of our family members. But at the same time, it's brought up conversations that I've never heard people having in my lifetime. And it's needed to happen. And you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the racial injustice that's being addressed, that all of this at the same time has shed light on it. And I just pray that we keep talking, that we continue to keep having conversations about equality and 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 justice. Not just what's fair, but what's just. That people are people, and God does love us all. And why? Why does it have to be? Even I have a lesson by an author, and I've always, grown up believing that I don't I didn't even really understand what racism was till I was an adult, because my family has always been so inclusive. And I think I've shared with several people before that, in the past, I our family was just a melting pot, and everyone was included. I didn't I didn't know that people drew lines between races. And like I said, I just, all of a sudden, I realized it already an adult. I already had children, and it hadn't occurred to me that there was a whole group of people that are my brothers and my sisters that felt still oppressed. And when I recognized it was 1996. I was in Tennessee, which was culture shock anyway, because I had just moved from Hawaii, of all places. And no, it was not part of God's plan, but He did work it around for good. And I spent 360 days there. Nothing against you, Tennessee, just my personal experience. You are a beautiful state. Any of my friends from there, I would visit in a heartbeat. I don't want to live there. But that was me. It did turn out to be a blessing, but I had an experience where I was moved to sitting in my car and just crying because I didn't know how to process it. And I mean, young mom, my littles were tiny. Then I'm in a new place. I'm shopping at a grocery store. It was called a Bilo, which I love all the names of stores, and I just love all that Southern charm stuff. The Bilo, the Piggly Wiggly. We just don't have cute names like that in California, I guess. I don't know. We have normal things like Vons and Albertsons. It's boring. Anyway, the Bilo. And I was shopping, and what was so strange there was people still smoked indoors, and in California that hadn't happened in quite some time. And that's a side trail. Anyway, I just, I had my kids with me, and I don't know a stranger. I talk to everybody. If people have a name tag, I call them by their name. And I'm trying to connect with this lady that was checking my groceries. And at first I thought I was being offensive. And she won't look up at me. And I was saying, well, has it been a busy day? And I'm telling her I'm here new, and I didn't say at the time I was from California, because I hadn't lived in California in, 6 years or something by then. And so I said I'd moved here from Hawaii, and she never looked up at me. She never looked at the kids. And I just was telling her things I liked about the area, and she was like, mm-hmm. And then she's like, well, ma'am, you just have the best day. And she never looked me in the eye. And our conversation was kind, so I didn't think she disliked me. And I realized, I mean, it upset me so much that I was crying in the car. And of course, at first I thought it was me because doesn't the world revolve around us? But later on, I was told, no, she didn't look at you because you're white. And I was like, what? What? She was serving me. What do you mean she didn't look at me because I'm white? You guys, I was floored in 1996. And then everything that we've seen this year. And I just, I repented for being naive. There was people still feeling so oppressed. I just thought it was still women because that was a real thing there. I had never experienced misogyny in my life like I did living there. Not only was I a woman, not only was I a white woman, but I was overweight. My husband worked out of town. He was on the road all the time, so I was in charge. You cannot believe in 1996 calling to set up utilities and having people ask to talk to your husband. Yeah. So, I mean, we have come a long way, but boy, do we still have so far to go. And that was just my little aha moment of get educated. Find out what it's like to walk a day in someone else's shoes. And now there's no excuse. You do not wake up one day and come into this world thinking that your race is better than someone else's. You just don't. You're not born that way. That's not what you were taught in heaven before you came down to earth, or however you believe. It's taught. Prejudice, bias, racism is taught. Don't do it. Teach love, teach kindness. If you have anybody around you that is impressionable, you have a duty. If you've gone into education and you're not checking those personal biases, if you're not, really being honest, and you are in charge of molding small children, and you have a prejudice against poverty, a prejudice against a harried mom who didn't have time to brush their kids' hair, you got to check those personal biases. Do not put those onto children. I had a big hang up when I first started teaching, and my big hang up was that I was overweight. And to me, gluttony is just one of those acceptable sins within the Christian community that we might stand there and judge a group of smokers outside of our church, but what about everybody that went over to scarf down a pie? So that was a hard thing for me to notice, just like how many moms were overweight, and we were all living for the potluck or the pot blessing, as they said in the 90s, because Christians didn't believe in luck, so we're going to have a blessing. Semantics. Anyway, I've gotten off on a tangent this morning. I didn't mean to. I mainly just wanted to check in with all of you guys to make sure your 10 to win the day is going well for you. That's my little bit of encouragement. I am late this morning. We had just some issues that made my day start late, but I'm not going to let it mess up my whole day. I am going to choose joy, and I'm going to go forward. And I just pray that all of you guys do the same. I am just speaking blessing over all of you today. And it's the weekend. It's almost Thanksgiving. We have so much to be thankful for. I mean, even in my frustration last night of seeing people hoard, I still took a moment to be thankful that we can't afford a turkey or we can't afford a ham. And you know what? Maybe just find one family this year that you could be a blessing to. Maybe a neighbor, or maybe you have a kid like Blake in your neighborhood that just is looking for something to do, and you know, maybe you can offer that, or whatever. Like I told you, don't wait for Christmas to be a blessing. Look for little ways to be kind to one another and